So I'm gonna do some cream of mushroom soup here, and these are from the food bank here in London, and that's a food processor, you know, old school. What's this, OXO or whatever, something like that. So there's food storage, so they don't get too slimy, right? Usually it's best to have the mushrooms in a paper bag. And I have my sandwich here. There's the dog. I don't have any cheese right now, but you know, loaded up with protein and some mayonnaise. Where's the cream? So you got 500 mils of chicken broth in there, and I'm gonna go straight up to a liter here. That's a 10% creamer. My house here goes through a lot of this stuff. Yeah. What else? We got some parsley in here that came from the food bank too. So I'm going to chop this up and then I'll be back in a minute. Right, what the hell am I talking about? I just throw this in here in this brawn. Again, when you have family, that's a support system or a community, money isn't so important. Just take some sprigs out of here. Okay. Quite a bit of parsley. It's be nice and bright. That's about it, really. I'll add some salt and pepper and maybe some other spices, and that's cream of mushroom soup. Whatever. So to highlight more stuff, see, this is Corning glassware, and we've had these glass pots for a very long time. You know, these are basically from the 1980s, and you don't have very much. Let's see if we got more. Oh, it's in the dishwasher. There it is. And we recently got the cast iron skillet back. We haven't had that in a long time. Actually, never had one. They're much better than the newfangled Teflon stuff, because you know, if you don't use the soft utensils with the Teflon, right, then it gets in your food. That ain't no good. And now you're gonna watch me just put this in here. It's pretty thick, which is what you really want from cream of mushroom, right? We'll put this on low for a while, and I'll scrape out the contents and get all the goodness in there. Yeah, okay, so, I don't know. This is another local guy here. He's been around a long time. There's, you know, as it is with southwestern Ontario, very much in common with Michigan. You know, Illinois. I ain't got much coffee left. I'll have to make some more. And I really, talking about coffee, I really like this stuff. Oh no, it's gone. Whatever. You're looking at my cupboard here, and it's only like this because of my sister. And normally I had some stuff from Three Sisters, or Kicking Horse Coffee, whatever it is, out there in British Columbia. And I'm gonna do this up. You don't really need to see it. All right, so that's all set. And I know I said this is one of my favorite mugs because of my sister. That was a gift many years ago. And if we're gonna look further into my cupboard here, we have lots of tea, you know, English heritage and all, and just lots of mugs. You can see all of my Starbucks muggies here from everywhere I've been, basically in Canada, except Calgary, because screw Calgary. And you know, and then one of my very favorites here. And I bought 3 of these when I was working and gave 2 of them to my friends. So I do use this, but not as often because of its rarity and scarcity. So, well, I got my coffee made. That's a little off center. I don't like that. It weirds me out, you know, using the phone and looking off to the side a bit, right? It's just that it's not quite there. What can I say? How come you're so good on camera? That's a question I've asked myself before, and I'm thinking about the modern era, and you know, a bit of a fireside chat. Let's be honest with that. Like emulating at least, or imitation, being flattery of a lot of the other people. What's up? What's going on? Jill, would you? Just being a guard dog. Shh. Shh. Chill. Chill. Shh. Chill. Chill. It's okay. You're doing your job. You're doing a good job. Thank you. Please stop. Please stop. Enough. Now the thing is that when you if we're gonna go around a bunch of random stuff today, I guess. There you go. Better. Thank you. You did a good job. You did a good job. Thank you. Thank you. No, you're not getting my sandwich. So how come you're good on camera? And I don't know. I don't worry about the future. I never did. I've always been preoccupied with the past and history, right? Like everything I try to do, or say, I try to make everything I do permanent. And with that in mind, because, you know, you look at this painting here, and I did this for my mother in one night. be honest with you. It was a binge painting. And that's the mother tree, or the meeting tree, that's over here in White Oaks, which is the namesake of this area, along with the Pond Mills. And first time I was on camera, I was a child in Oro, actually, for CKVR. My family, being very conservative Christian, I wasn't allowed to go out for Halloween, and we didn't have a Christmas tree. We had a nativity scene instead. So what we did is, since we were on the farm and we had two horses, Soleil and 99, which were their names. One was an Appalachian, I don't remember, Appaloosa, and the other one I don't remember exactly what mix she was. But we had them, and a rooster out in Oro on the second line for about a year or so. And so again, the word got out, through connections in the community, that we were doing this, and they really appreciated the novelty. And my mom will tell you this, like, if we're going to go by stories and personal relations, because naturally part of the propaganda of our era has to do with, as it always has, with divide and conquer and dehumanization, right? Trying to make a straw man out of something in the guise of politics. Whereas with, say with marketing, it's completely different. You have an object that you want to sell and target to a certain audience. But basically the same psychological principles that are behind it. And if I want to talk about other little things, I remember the story is, as I was saying with my mother, I'm on videotape. I know this, right, from the early 90s. We had a school pageant, and there was something for kindergarten or whatever it was, and I was a clown, complete clown, screwing it up for everybody else and taking all the attention away. So youngest of three siblings are usually the entertainers, right? The peacemakers and so on and so forth. If you want to go by, the psychology of birth order and other things like that, to be included in my life in Barrie as a young child. If you remember Northern Getaway and Northern Reflections, these were two unique fashion brands within Canada, and I was a runway model. I shit you not, I was. So yeah, that might be on camera too. I have no idea. Can't remember what year that was specifically, but I know I was under the age of 10. So that was the required, the targeted audience, and I remember having more than a few pieces of their clothing, including was it a 3-season coat, and it was like purple or maroon, something along those lines. The real 90s fashion with say like teal or turquoise, accents, not whatever, right? Whatever, who cares? It's just the fashion of the era. And so yeah, and then like you're talking about public speaking and being in front of other people. In leadership, you have to be able to bear the weight of public scrutiny and understand that no matter what you do, someone out there is always going to come after you and psychoanalyze you and try to build you up as a straw man for something that they want to create you into the target for which they can build their own audience and their own support and tear you down in the process. This is how it works with politics, right? Being in the public sphere as a celebrity or anything along those lines is exactly the same thing. You know, you're in the public eye, and a lot of people get tired of that after a while. But what else is there to do in the age of isolation? Right? Just have a conversation. And frankly, I'll come back in a minute, and because my sandwich has gotten a little cold, and runny cold eggs are not that nice. It's better to eat it when it's warm. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna drink my coffee, and then maybe I'll meet you upstairs. Okay. So there's the soup, mushroom soup. And I got it on pretty low because I don't want to overdo it. And you shouldn't ever eat raw mushrooms, especially if you're foraging them. You know, Mr. Stamets might say the same thing. Let's see. There's something to show you here. All right. Okay. Moving on. I think I'm just going to go to the Subaru outside that's sitting there. And we'll talk about that for a second. You got the old junk drawer here. Everybody's got one of these. Ah, scheisse. Yeah, the old yard store. Battery's dead right now, so I don't care. I haven't opened the door in a long time here, but let's see. Got the old spicy fogs there. I'm gonna show you what's underneath here. So back here we got the VF52, the Grimspeed stuff. There's a downpipe GESI. Here's the Pias. Skid plate, the old Rally Tech. A lot of Grimspeed bits on this thing. And I might clean this up just because. But let's see. So you see there's the GESI from Cobb, and a full-length Navidian exhaust, because they had to replace it from hitting that bear. There's other stuff in here, but it ain't really a matter, you know. Let's see, let's turn this down a little bit more. And we'll go up the stairs. That's my house. And you know, you see all these things, you wonder where they came from, and they've been gathered over the years, right? A lot of it from well, buying used, and not all of it's my money, right? That's the point of family, is that you stay together. And I don't like abandoning people, because frankly, I wouldn't want that done to me. And I don't like it when it is, for no particular reason except for there's a better man out there. Isn't that right, Zoe? Yeah, that's right. Isn't that right? That's getting distracted. Because a poor man can only afford the best. And I know there's a lot of people out there at this moment that have experienced a lot of the same things that I have. You know, considering my parents split up during COVID, the very beginning, and it was beginning to fracture for you know, a multitude of reasons. Hence why you won't hear my mother around here. And you know, as I've said before, my decision to stay at home is financial, and you know, because it didn't ever make sense after having observed the 2008 financial crash and watching the hard assets of previous generations just filter and sit, you know, like fall through the cracks, and then thereafter the sale of these properties, the value immediately went up into say, with the house in Westmount up to $600,000, and now currently when it sold about $750,000. We sold it, if I remember correctly, for around just over $300,000, so it was still attainable and still affordable. And that was like that was in 2007 that we changed over to this condo. And you know, obviously my parents weren't thinking that I would stick around so long, or my sister, but you know, life changes and things happen. You know, I didn't expect to be here this long. You know, I expected to have, before COVID hit, get my projects finished with these two Subarus, because, you know, why shouldn't an aircraft mechanic have a hot boy car, right? Or something to enjoy? Why shouldn't someone like me that, you know, gives their life to someone else and in service to other people, and sacrifices their family and their body and their mental health for people that don't give a shit about me? Why shouldn't I have some sort of reward? When is it going to be my turn, right? Why do I have to be made into this straw man of the culture, as it currently is, you know, contemporary culture, as an example? You know, especially as an attractive man, I understand this now, even more so since I started evaluating myself for who I am, you know, and learning a lot of hard lessons, and not getting involved in relationships with stupid women, right? Having some self-efficacy, you know, because of, as I've said in other videos with this history of propaganda, you know, this being a little bit more longer format, in order to talk to people about my mentality and what got me to here, because the history matters, right? We can't just erase it for the agenda of somebody else, because, you know, our shared history and our oral tradition, especially throughout all of human history, is you know, the shared thread that binds us in the fabric of humanity, you know, the interweaving and so on and so forth. And the commercial nature of this society, you know, especially when you think about the context of the 1980s and onwards, where there was a boom. You know, you had the baby boomers, and then the generational waves thereafter, right? So they had children, the Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zers, right? Just like a sine wave. And the markets follow the rise to financial independence, or actually in this case with the culture as it is, the rise to financial slavery and indenturement. But you know, as Rick and Morty says, "Ooh, look at you," you know, you finally figured it out. And for the longest time, I thought I didn't have a dollar to my name recently after leaving Sault Ste. Marie. But I found this dollar, this loonie here. It's from 2013. I don't know who that is. In the middle of something. And I have this other one, this other special edition coin, 25 cents. That was minted in 2007. Here. And biathlon. You know. And when I was in cadets, I was actually considering doing biathlon. But I didn't have the funding. And it just, the resources weren't there. Because, you know, you look at my life, right, and you might be jealous of the things that I have. But it's just stuff, right? And it's been collected over years. And when my parents were working 14 Challenge, we had access to the food donation part of the building. And I never had any of that stuff, right? Like the manufactured snacks and cereals and whatnot, sugary stuff, you know, just, we never used to get it. We never used to go for it. We were always going to the health food store in Barrie and like the Christian bookstore. Those are the frequent ones that I remember. Bayfield Mall, and the beach downtown, because you know it was a completely different era, very much a lot slower, and a lot more people centered. Especially in a smaller town as Barrie was, you know, at that time. And, you know, obviously the motivations were spiritual and community outreach and doing service for other people, in order for, you know, my dad to call, you know, basically give up his independent insurance and financial planning operation in Barrie for Teen Challenge, right? And that brought some opportunities with it, but obviously as a young child I was not very happy about it. But these are little details, and if I'm going to be online forever, I might as well just be transparent, right? I might as well show you who I am. Because not everybody online is who they say they are, and right, and that's part of the propaganda is, you know, there's this face put up, this caricature sometimes for entertainment value, but I understand, and a lot of other YouTubers understand at this moment, that it's overstimulating, it's hyper-stimulating. And it's, you know, I prefer the content of or the concept of slow TV, and you know, what was it? It was always the principle was that if you if you feel like, so if you make the viewer feel like they're part of the conversation, then they're more likely to stick around, right? And more authenticity, a more value. These are always the things that people who are just getting into the arts and creative arts and trying to create art are seeking. You know, I don't want to be mediocre. I want real authenticity. I want to be valued. I want to be, you know, praised and so on and so forth. I want people to kiss my feet or whatever, right? I don't actually want you to kiss my feet. Please don't worship me. I'm not an idol. I don't want to be an idol. I don't want to be, I don't necessarily want to be an icon either, because, you know, all I really care about, like a lot of other people do from previous generations, is what I leave behind, right? The legacy. Hence a bit of symbology with the car, you know, because that is the legacy of Subaru. You know, it's their flagship sedan. And a lot of people don't appreciate it for that. They really don't. The reason why I'm showing you this stuff about the food bank and whatnot, as my life is, and considering, you know, financial warfare and personal debt load of every individual, you know, the credit availability of credit, but also of persecution and isolation as to drive people towards suicide, so that the, you know, okay, so this is a bit of a conspiratorial theory. I don't have a lot of evidence toward this, just a lot of observation from other people's stories and testimonies, that the efforts are done to pressure people into, again, harming themselves. And there's insurance policies against loans, right? And the creditors, this third party creditors, will buy a lump of debt from the first party creditor, and then try to, you know, recoup to par, so, you know, to break even. But the interest rates on these loans and these credit cards are just absolutely mind blowing. And this is done on purpose, as I said, to make people harm themselves, commit suicide, and to, you know, release their assets to the state, basically. And then the government as well, so the state, more than likely has insurance policies on each and every person. And this is the case in the States, right? That you know, often, you know, mutual funds or pension plans or individual corporations have insurance policies on every individual employee, and upon their death or injury on the job site, they get a payout. This is just the way it is. These are the dark sides of, you know, capitalism as it is right now, and the foreign influence, for which has made it even worse with the speculation and the manipulation of the markets, so as to gain even more profits out of the suffering of other people. You know, hence the whole Robin Hood occurrence, you know, 2 years ago. Well, 2019. Well, not 2019. Well, 2 years ago, something like that. I don't really care anymore as to the exact dates. So you just go look them up online, and it's just fairly recent in the culture as it is. And you know, again, like I saw myself in a sportsmobile, a vehicle, and it was a turbo diesel 4x4 to accommodate my lifestyle as a traveling aircraft mechanic. and to, basically, again, function like an independent arm of the military, model myself after that. Basically, high speed, low drag, very, very low cost. And there's so many people out there, the rubber tramps, that are living like that, and hence the echoing and the parallels between us and the grapes of wrath, right? And my grandparents obviously grew up in the Depression era. And it's why you see in this video why I've learned to do so much with my hands, with cooking, baking, and pickling, detailing, mechanics. I do a lot of the cleaning around. Well, not a lot of the cleaning. I do my portion. Let's be fair. And development of the arts, because of the the foresight and the listening to other people that were predicting the future, as to say that the creative arts will be or anything creative that is more human than human, so to speak, is extremely valuable and highly desired. Because in the age of conveniences, the more stupid that we get, and that statement falls in line with the declining IQ, so the quantification of intelligence, and also of EQ, which is done. Okay, so we're going to talk about George Orwell or 1984, Aldous Huxley. The old I don't need to explain it to you, because you already know, talking about digital prisons and manufactured consent and willful blindness, and turning the blind eye to the evils of society and of people, because people are monsters. We are. And the indifference of society, the isolation that is incurred by the advantageous invention of these basically this handheld laptops, because that's what this is. This right here in front of me is a handheld laptop. This thing is far more powerful than many other people's computers, and I bought it used in Kelowna. I didn't buy this phone new. I rarely ever buy things new, and when I do, I keep them forever. Because again, a poor man can only afford the best. It's a Dutch proverb, right? What's another one? Right? It doesn't matter. Because, debt don't mean shit. It really doesn't, right? Especially when you have to put food in your mouth, right? And this swaying away from the valuation of skill to riches and narcissism, and the dopamine feedback loop, for which Google, they were talking about this in the early days. They're like, this is very dangerous and it could turn us evil, because of the marketing and the advertising, and this is again being influenced by adbusters in my teen years, and learning about media literacy again in my teen years through high school, and learning about sociology and philosophy in high school. Okay. And again, this is why I have meltdowns, is because people don't appreciate and don't want to be told by the intelligent that what they're doing is stupid, right? It's easier, as AVE, I was watching the video last night, and again, as I created that other video, it's easier to fool a man than to tell a man that he's been fooled. What can I say? That's very wise. And wisdom is knowledge gained through experience. Let's put it like that. And having perspective, right, of a bigger picture of what's going on after observation over a period of time. And science comes from philosophy, right? And I've said this in another video. I was trying to think about the meteorites and sacred geometry. As Werner Herzog, I can't remember the documentaries, but he did one on the grizzly, the Kodiaks, grizzly man or whatever it was, and little Dieter flies again, and again the meteorite one. And I've ingested a lot of media because of just social isolation and anxieties, which exacerbated my alcohol and marijuana use over the years. And that was at points to my detriment because, too much of a good thing. But frankly, it doesn't matter anymore. And because there's the addictions in society to our vices and being, pushed upon you by drug dealers, basically, right? Through marketing and this propaganda of lifestyle that is the utopia, right? Utopia is an idea. It's as close as you can get to perfection, and that's the gist of it. By definition, there may not ever be anything better than that. But utopia is subjective to the person, and this is why communism always fails, is because every person has a different idea of what's perfect for them. And when there's too much conformity and too much uniformity, then individual identities are lost, and then we all suffer. There's no creativity, and there's no point in living. There's no joie de vivre, right? Raison d'etat. Excuse me. And again, recently, this very much bothers me, as it does a lot of other people, how veterans are treated, and, I have a lot more familiarity than a lot of other people do, especially when, the politics of the day wants to demonize war and wants to demonize warfare and conflict and the individual people themselves, and dehumanize service people, so that their agendas of the animal farm paradox, in which they can undercut and then rise to power by burning them, right, to a cinder, and replace them and dominate and destroy, so as to create their own power structures. But the vacuum in between, as has been observed by many people in the services, and also by many missionaries when they go abroad, that the less intelligent that we are, and the more corruption happens, and the more people are corrupted, and the more poverty happens, right? Because you have such an expansive dearth, right? Difference in an inequity of intelligence, but also of resources, because only the stupid use force to establish power, right? This is why we're in where we're in, or this is why we're at where we're at, so to speak, is because of the stupid and the ignorant and the powerful who have all the money, right? This is how it goes, right? The rich people are not necessarily the smartest people in the world. They just have connections. They have a lot of connections, and you could say privilege, but but you know, again, I'm not going to criticize the rich. I'm not going to demonize them. I know one day I could be one of them, and I know that because I have the drive, I have the intelligence, I have the adaptability, and I have the resourcefulness to do that and make other people a shitload of money at the same time. It's just developing the relationships in order to do that, because you know, without other people, what's the point in making money? What's the fucking point, right? That's one of the themes in the arts, right? Is that you know, you think about the old rich man who has no family and is completely alone, and has no children, you know, say like Batman, you know, that's like, okay. So if you want to talk about, you know, earlier in this conversation, I always wanted to be Batman. I really appreciated the character, and I've always felt a little bit on the outside, and you know, having great darkness and brooding and anger, to be honest with you, at humanity and other people for what they do to other people. That's the truth. And I'm sitting here and I'm staring at my childhood utopia, right? With the helicopter, the cargo airplane, you know, the scene of a landing strip over here, and you know, the overlander, basically the 4x4, because you know, why do the poor have to be persecuted for being poor, right? Why do we have to hate people because the amount of resources that they have, right? But that comes down to not wanting any competition, and that's racketeering, right? And that's monopoly, which is the very problem of what caused the 2008 financial crisis. And again, when I've been reading from, you know, Thailand's Boom, Bust and Echo, that's exactly what happened when you have too much concentration of power with capitalism. That you have the haves and the have-nots, and it's even worse than monarchy, because monarchy is you know, very traditional, but also it has a history of being incestuous, you know, by divine right of kings and so on and so forth. And frankly, you know, it works in some cases, and in a lot of others it doesn't. It really depends on the culture, if we're going to get into politics. And this is why I declared myself king of the internet in some of these videos and on my Instagram, because, you know, who else was doing it, right? The king of information. I don't necessarily need to know everything, but I know a lot of other people that do, right? That's exactly what makes someone rich, right? Because there's more than one way to be wealthy. You can be wealthy in information, you can be wealthy in family and relationships, or you could be wealthy in resources. You could be, you know, have a wealth of talent, so to speak, without gluttony, and without a covetous nature. Let's put it like that, right? Those who covet and those who fetishize, as by every religion, don't go to heaven. Basically, they don't get reincarnated as a higher being. They get made into insects in the next life, to be squashed by the giants. And I don't need to live like that. All I ever wanted, as I've said multiple times in these videos and in my writings, was, you know, a happy life, a good wife, and a decent family. You know, and this is why I'm so angry, is because, again, I've sacrificed so much, and as of many other men,
for the, the sake of society, right? That's the whole point behind It's a Living and Dirty Jobs, is to show that, men sacrifice their lives for other people. And the isolation of men is happens much more often in the modern era, so this contemporary era, than it did before. And hence why you look at the statistics. While, and I've referenced this before, is that women attempt suicide more often, but men succeed more often. And that's not a threat. I'm not interested in going away in such a fashion, right? Nihilism and the absence of spirituality, and replacing it with this idolatry, again, of false idols, of, say, like celebrity culture, the idolization of a corporation as a family, or social movements, that for which I shall not name anymore, because I don't need to. It's already apparent as to whom and what my targets are, to critique as an intelligent individual. How some people say, "Oh, I'm married to the military." So, and I can understand that, right? Again, depending on where the person came from and what their if they have altruistic intentions, or they joined because they don't have anyone else or have anything else. And this is why, again, I don't want to demonize the poor, and especially since the wages were cut recently in Canada. Was around 7,000 service members lost a piece of their salaries, and it's just like, what the fuck? And you're buying the F-35, right? The operating cost of the F-35 is astronomical. It's astronomical, and by the numbers, right? The Lockheed Martin leases the aircraft. You don't actually buy the aircraft as the the ministry. And a little bit of insider information there. Which is a real problem, right? That this whole that profiteering of the industrial complex, which again is corrupted by the revolving door of politics to the private sector, public to private. Again, these are all things that I've said in previous videos, but I don't expect other people to listen to me anymore. I really don't, because wisdom often falls on deaf ears, and it won't matter how much you sacrifice yourself for other people. As long as you continue to do it without there being any reward, you'll be taken advantage of. That's the truth of the matter. Good intentions are corrupted by the psychotic and by the sociopathic. And the definition of the corporation is that it's psycho, right? And the definition of a person under the eyes of the law is a monster, and you have to prove that the person is not a monster. And it shouldn't be like that. The principle is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And without self-defense, and without assertion, and without the violence or the threat of violence in humanity, then you just get eaten alive. It's just a fact of the matter. And having experienced this, and hence why observing, because again, the world at large is a macrocosm of high school. And when you're on the outside looking in, it's very scary, right? Because you learn so much about other people that you don't necessarily want to get involved anymore after a period of time. And that's where I'm at. And again, where a lot of people are at with the age of isolation and information on the internet, that say like movements like MGTOW, which are reactionary to feminism, and I don't ascribe to it. I never did. I was always on my own path anyway. Just as an independent person, I didn't want to be reliant on other people. I didn't want to be beholden or codependent, so to speak, in my relationships. I wanted codependence, and not codependence, interdependence in my relationships. I want my partner to be able to live and survive on their own if need be. And this is what I'm thinking about with, say, like the psychology of people that have gone before, and the bear tale from last night, in that women have changed immensely over the years, and that, again, as I've said before, propaganda works first on children and women, because they're the most vulnerable and the most suggestible, the most agreeable, right? Because that's just their nature, and most impressionable. Men have a if we're going to go by Peterson and Jung and his learnings, in that agreeableness is what makes the character, so to speak, or at least one of the defining traits. Yeah, I'd rather be me. And if I'm going to be poor for the rest of my life, then I don't really give a shit, because it was never about the money in the first place. It was always about love, right? And people look at me and they'll say by these videos that this man, as I said before, is not who he says he is, and that he doesn't deserve to have a license. He doesn't deserve to have a pension. He doesn't deserve anything in the world, because they see me or other people of intelligence as a threat, right? He doesn't deserve to be rich. He doesn't deserve to have the things that he has. He doesn't deserve his talents, or so on and so forth. All this bundle of accelerated and turbo narcissism, because that's the projection, right, of the negativity and of the undealt with self, right? The fact that we have to acknowledge with every individual that we are where we come from, right? I am this land. I am not inseparable from Ontario. Ontario is my home, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not. And you can't take that away from me. My family is Canada, and Canada is my family. And if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, white people are not the devil. We're not. You know what is the devil? Greed, lust, gluttony, sloth. 7 deadly sins, right? I don't remember the other ones. What more can I say? You got to do something with your life. Or what's it, Ben Franklin? Most people die at the age of 25. We don't bury them until they're 80. Because we rest on our laurels. And we get used to things. And then we start to eat ourselves.